In the heart of Kenya, where dreams take root and families thrive, there's a silent struggle that often goes unnoticed: lack of adequate housing. Transnzoia, a cosmopolitan county with a population of about 990,341 as per the 2019 census report, had its indigenous people settle in various pieces of land in early 1800s before the arrival of the white settlers. Reports on poverty gap indicate nearly 5 in every 10 people in Transnzoia live below the poverty line. Hundreds of families face the harsh reality of inadequate housing, struggling to find shelter amidst other basic human needs. To trace the genesis of homelessness and lack of adequate housing, we reached out to a few community elders who narrated the chronology of events leading to the current saddening situation.
Indigenous people occupied extensive pieces of land in the 1800s. The coming of the white settlers destabilized the harmony. Many were evicted from their fertile lands and made servants and laborers in the same land.
It did not just happen. It was orchestrated by the political leadership of the day. After independence, the government of the day did not consider resettling many natives.
Upon reading the National Kevu-2 report on land matters, you will learn that all parcels of land grabbed by some rogue regime were for the natives of Transnzoia, and that's how poverty walked in.
We as the residents of Transnzoia, especially at NATEMBEYA, we lost many parcels of land owned by natives who had their resources, and that's why today, as a result of losing everything from the post-election violence of 1992, there is so much strife and fights over a small piece of land.
Ni wengi kwa sababu as a result of losing everything from 92 clashes, hiyo shida. Sasa ndio naona hii clashes ilifanya watu ndio wakuja hata wakae Matisi, Pokola.
Many were evicted from very large parcels of land and moved to Matisi, Bosnia, and Folkland. Now, do you still want to ask why many families live so miserably?
Hiyo sio ni maisha ya kuumiza watu.
We visited a couple of families in Transnzoia County that shall represent the faces behind the thousands of families in dire need. Meet Jennifer Akalateta, a widow, seemingly neglected and living with her 2 grandchildren in Sabanga, Cheranani. Poverty, hunger, sickness, and lack of a decent house describes her life. She too worked as a casual laborer in one of the farms here, but now age has caught up with her. The grandchildren are not schooling for lack of essentials.
Listen here, we came here and worked at John Kakai's. My husband worked in that home. One day he fell sick, battled until his demise. I went buried him at our ancestry land and came back here. All my children had desire to further their studies, but I couldn't afford to offer them. Only God knows my worries.
Another visit was to Zilpa Malongo in Kinyoro Ward in Saboti. She lives on her late husband's land for decades now, and in a very dilapidated structure alongside 6 grandchildren. Zilpa lives in fear, especially on a rainy night. She is worried the structure may collapse on her. She is the only one to ensure the grandchildren get all the basic needs. I have grown old. My husband had built a mud house for us, but as a custom it was demolished following his demise. I now live in a makeshift structure that at some point nearly fell over me, and I wondered, where else can I go at my age? I take care of 6 grandchildren. It is very difficult to afford a meal for them. It is a couple of months now we haven't had a decent meal we can't afford. I literally sleep outside, for I cannot afford knocking on neighbors for a place to lie my head. I do face a lot of challenges, especially keeping these children in school. There is no one who assists me with these kids, and if I can get anyone put up a house for me, I shall be grateful. It shall be a blessing. The next case is of Gladys Akala of Keo Ward in Kwanza Sub-County. Hers is a story of jigger infestation, hunger, sickness, and poverty. Together with her mentally challenged son, they live by the mercies of well-wishers in the community. I'm doing well. I got some little food from neighbors. I got some salt but no sugar at all. The little maize we harvested was finished long ago. Yesterday another neighbor assisted us some corn flour that we fed on, and it's done. Today the neighbor over there assisted us some tea. I couldn't walk. I used to lie over there as a result of this jiggers. The jiggers bite. I stay awake. I can't sleep at all.
I've been around here for about, this is the 5th year, and from the first month I knew Mshere. When she came asking for food, for help, then that is when we bonded. I came to know her family, and she's a very humble lady, although she has a lot of problems. No food, jiggers. She's a neglected lady, and actually she needs a lot of help.
She is Violet Nasimiu of Kapuretwa in Saboti constituency, a rural slum in Transnzoia. She lost her husband in 2022, leaving behind 12 children. Violet hasn't been able to take the kids to school for lack of all essentials. Her physical condition limits her from accessing manual jobs with a better pay. And instead she has to take her kids along to people's farms in order to fetch each day's meal. Every morning it is my wish to have some breakfast, but it is not available. We usually plow our small piece, but due to lack of proper input, the harvest is too little to sustain us.
Kama hata nusu kunia na mwe ni kunia tu moja. Kama imeisha, najaribu kutafuta njia ili wakule.
I usually try to find ways to put a meal on the table for the kids. I reach out into the community begging for some laundry work. Some agree. Some refuse, while others just give me food and tell me to go.
Na kama anakubali na ananipea nifanye. Na kama hana, anasema mama sina, lakini chukwako hii tu.
The neighbors assist and I appreciate. Come back home and feed my children.
Kama nina kitu chochote, mama nakupea tu. na mnaenda kukula na watoto. Asi wananipeanga na mimi napika asande na kuki na hiyo chakula na wanakula. Halafu kitu kingine mimi spending ya watoto wakose shuleni.
It is never my wish to not send these children to school, but I lack money to even buy the uniforms for them. The little I get can't buy even a single uniform.
Hata kama nataka pesa hiyo haifiki hiyo uniform yao.
Our next case is Jackson Pepeller of Cherubai Farm in Enda Base. Living in a makeshift structure since 1978 alongside tens of other families hard hit by poverty. Pepeller's house is 3 by 3 meters in size, stuffy and dusty, subjecting him to various health hazards and jigger infestation.
I came here in 1978. We just live a miserable life. Not good at all, but we thank God. The structures get old and we demolish. I demolished here and erected there. I shall again demolish this one, and I don't know where else I shall erect another one.
Due to the extreme poverty, Cherubai residents can't afford iron sheets for their structures and pick pieces of thorn polyethylene bags to thatch the roofs. This can't hold on the rains, neither can it protect them from the night cold.
In this region, we no longer have grass for thatching. That's why you will see we roof with polythene. Speaking of vulnerable persons, here can exceed 200 in number, comprising of widows, elderly persons, very vulnerable, and the people living with disability. Kids here don't go to school. Access to education here is below average.
Our next case is of Richard Masika, who came to Cherubai Farm in 1978 to work in a parastatal farm as a tractor driver where his late father was working. Richard's mother died when he was in class 4. Since then, he dropped out of school. Richard has no land, no home, and no decent house to stay in. His children moved to other towns to seek for survival.
Nasaliwa mwaka wa 1948.
I was born in 1948. My mother passed on when I was in class 4.
Sasa ndio mama akakufa huko. Nilikuja na mzee baba yangu anaitwa John Barasa Kimwaji.
I came here with my late father, John Baraza, a tractor driver at a white settler's farm by the name Kali. I eventually got picked as a driver too.
At a time when the families are suffering for lack of decent houses among other essentials, an organization has emerged as a beacon of hope, dedicated to transforming the lives of families through secure and dignified homes. George NATEMBEYA Foundation, patronized by the current Transnzoia Governor His Excellency George NATEMBEYA, is committed to breaking the cycle of poverty by providing adequate housing to one family at a time in Transnzoia County, as well as supporting the most vulnerable families socio-economically.
Transnzoia as a county has very many challenges. Many of these challenges are being dealt with by the county government that I'm currently leading. But we formed this foundation out of the realization that God has blessed us in very many ways compared to many other people in the county. So that other than the thing that we are doing as a county government, there are things that I believe as a person also, whom God has blessed, I should be able to give back to the society. And that's why we formed the NATEMBEYA Foundation.
George NATEMBEYA Foundation is a foundation that was created with the main objective of helping the vulnerable population in Kenya, with starting with the Transnzoia and move on to the other counties, of people who are living with abject poverty, with problems of housing and accommodation, among other things. The specific objective of this foundation is therefore to assist this vulnerable population to get decent houses. Alongside that is also to assist them to get education, health, and any economic activities that can push them outside the poverty index.
We've started with addressing the issue of housing. Of course, the national government is talking about affordable housing. But for us, we're talking about affordability. Because these people don't afford anything. Some of them don't have land. So in areas where we identify a person who's needy and they don't have land, we want to strive to buy land for them and also construct a house for them, a decent house.
Through collaborative efforts, George NATEMBEYA Foundation has already made a significant impact, transforming makeshift shelters into secure homes.
As you can see behind me is a unit that is fully funded by George NATEMBEYA Foundation. George NATEMBEYA Foundation is working on a program that is going to empower a community, one family at a time, and the families that are needy. The phase one that we have in our program right now, we have constructed units in every sub-county that are already done and completed. And our scope or our expectations is to have over 350 units.
Once the homes are completed and furnished, they are handed over in a simple yet profound ceremony, involving community members who witness the joy and hope these new beginnings bring. For the residents of Saboti, the impact is undeniable. Zilpa Malongo's life took a remarkable turn. Her joy radiating as her dreams of a better life came true.
Kwa siku ya leo mimi nimefurahia kwa mradi ya foundation ya NATEMBEYA, kwa sababu wakati tulikuwa tunafanya census katika kijiji kunatembea na kijana yako wa mkono, tulifika kwa hiyo boma tukapata hiyo mama nyumba imemwangukia. Wakati alipika simu kwa mheshimiwa NATEMBEYA, alirespond akasema ya kwamba nitakuja kusaidia huyu mama. So mimi nashukuru mheshimiwa NATEMBEYA kwa kazi amefanya yake, sio ya county, kwa kazi amefanya na marafiki zake kuja kusaidia wachane. Ili katika kijiji hiki 3 Rivers Ton 3 kuna wamama wachane, sio hao peke yake, pia wanadeserve wafanyie jinsi wanafanya hivyo. Na nataka kushukuru mheshimiwa kwa sababu kwa kazi yenye ametutendea katika kijiji hiki tujaiona
na tumefurahia. Hii matendo yenye ameanza hii tumeshukuru sana, ni kwa sababu si hapa peke yake. Ametembea hapa Transnzoia yote. Tumeshukuru.
Lakini Mungu huyu anajua.
Sasa hizo umekuja kabisa kuna kurudi huko.
Asante sana. Asante sana. Mungu amsaidie. Hata nyinyi naye msawa watoto wamsaidie.
Asante. Asante sana.
Gladys Akala, treated for jiggers and educated on healthcare. Couldn't contain her happiness when she was handed the keys to her new home.
Asanteni sana. Hii ni sabuni. Aya, hii ni ungangano. Hii ni biriani, si ndio? Biriani ni nini? Mchele. Aya, hii ndio jiko kwa. Unajua hii jiko? Unajua? Sini mzuri? Aya, ndio hiyo.
Alafu itakuwa safi tena zaidi.
The community around her celebrated this life-changing moment, joining in her joy.
Huyu mama kweli mahali alitoka. Yaani watu wanamcheka-cheka tu. Wengine wanamcheka-cheka, wengine wanamsaidia. Lakini Mungu amekumbuka huyu mama kama alikumbuka Lazaro.
Amepitia magumu. Nataka tu kushukuru Natembea Foundation and Natembea as a person kwa sababu ya kuchukua jukumu la kumsaidia mshere.
Tunaona kazi yako vile watu wanasema mama huyu amekaa miaka na miaka tangu asaliwe bila kuona gavana, bila kufikiria ataona gavana. Umekuja kwa manake umemjengea nyumba.
Jennifer Ecolotetet saw her long wait come to an end. Surrounded by local leaders and community members, her life was ignited with new hope as NATEMBEYA Foundation, led by its patron, handed her the key to a brighter future.
Yako inasikia namna gani?
Mungu yangu, wata Mungu yangu nakuja.
It is God. My God has remembered me through NATEMBEYA Foundation.
Nabarikia sana.
May God bless them abundantly.
Tunashukuru Natembea, Mungu amsaidia atamuongezea miaka zingine kwa sababu ametutoa kwa kiwango ile tulikuwa.
We sincerely thank NATEMBEYA Foundation for this act of kindness. No one can do such a thing to a mother not even known to them. For sure our mother could just have died in that dilapidated structure.
Kumjengea nyumba tumefurahi, ambaye siku ya leo tunaifungua. Tunafuraha sana kama jamii ya Waturkana. Tunasema Bwana wa amani atembee na yeye katika safari yake ya kazi.
Shosho yetu alikuwa anafanya tu kazi ya kuchungia watu ng'ombe. Huyu ndiye amenilea kama mama, yeye ndo kama baba kwangu sababu tuliachwa na mama yetu tukiwa wadogo. Shosho yetu akatulea. Tumesoma tukiishi na yeye kwa landi. Tumeishi maisha ya upweke na nashukuru Natembea kwa kusaidia shosho yetu. Hajasaidia shosho yetu peke yetu, ametusaidia pia na sisi wajukuu wake.
And in Sabata village, Kimanini, Rosebella Mukabuni, flanked by women from the community, joyfully stepped into her new house, filled with hope and restoration after years of struggle. May the good Lord bless the foundation abundantly for constructing this house for me. May they never lack so that they support even more vulnerable persons.
Foundation sisi hatuingii kisiasa ama hatuingii kabila. Sisi kama foundation tunasaidia.
George NATEMBEYA Foundation is non-political. We do mapping and due diligence in the community to ascertain who is most vulnerable to be given priority in our program.
Ni pesa ambazo zimetoka kwa sacrifice ya mshahara ya gavana mwenyewe na marafiki zake.
This is not a county government program, but rather a personal initiative and sacrifice by our patron and his friends who love helping vulnerable families. And that is why we still call on well-wishers. People we're gifted even in your smallest capacities to join hands with us support more families. This is just the beginning, and it is a testimony that when we join hands, vulnerable members of the community can also lead good life.
But the journey is far from over. The need is vast. It's not just about constructing houses. It's about building communities, empowering families through education, healthcare, and sustainable livelihoods, creating a foundation for lasting change and so much more.
Again, we go back to the society and identify very neat and bright kids who've not been able to secure government scholarships, and then we do that for them. We pay for them, knowing that building the capacity of our people, especially from those poor folks, we are breaking them from the vicious cycle of poverty.
Ikiwa ameanza hii foundation ya kukumbuka wale ambao hawajiwezi.
Establishment of the foundation is a game changer on matters socio-economic transformation to the vulnerable families in Transnzoia. We expect huge transformation after 2 to 3 years. This foundation is a pillar and an ignition to the unity against poverty in Transnzoia at large.
So it's not about me being governor. It's about me not being governor subsequently. So it doesn't look like it's tokenism. Once we've put a house for you, and the other also we have paid fees for your children, we are making a saving for you. Yeah, and if the other economic activities that we can assist you to venture into, we want the foundation to be able to do that. And that's why we want to have partners. People feel blessed enough by God to spare something and give it back to society. I want this foundation to outlive me. So it doesn't have to be about me. We want to have other people come on board. So that whether NATEMBEYA is there or not, the activities of the foundation, which I believe are very noble, they just continue.